Well, good Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm Steve Novotney. We've got a big show today, ladies and gentlemen. And hey, look, we even improved the camera view. And next week, guess who's going to be on camera too? The guests on Steve Novotney Live. Should be pretty exciting stuff, right? All right, today, Lou Vargo is going to join us for the final segment. Lou, of course, is the EMA director here in Ohio County. Also, the interim administrator right now, as the hunt for a new Greg Stewart continues. We also saw in the local papers Greg Stewart's contract was nullified. He's still on the job. And, I don't know if the new contract's going to include, $16,000 a month in salary. Man, who wouldn't want that gig? That'd be a great gig. $16,000 a month? What would you buy with all that money? I'll have to ask Greg to come on. Maybe I can ask him that question. But Lou's coming on. We're going to talk about vaccinations and a big increase in doses supposed to be delivered to Ohio County next week. We'll find more details out about that. The city manager of the city of Wheeling, Bob Herron, is at 4 o'clock. We'll find out what the status is of that ongoing conversation involving Bluefield State College. We're also going to talk about code enforcement, other infrastructure projects that are taking place, the festival season, the recovery money that's been received from the federal government. A lot to talk to Bob about. At 3:30, Ashley Dunlap with the Junior League. They've got a 5K run and walk coming up, the Wheeling Feeling 5K up at Oglebay Park. Ashley will give us a bunch of details on that. But right now, my good friend, haven't seen him in a while because of the stupid pandemic, but Dr. Joe Greathouse is on the show. He is the director of Oglebay's Good Zoo. Joe, how are you, my man?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, of course, Joe. I can't wait to come up. You know what I've wanted to do? And you tell me, what's, the best time or the best animal. I want to do one of those animal encounters. Remember I came up that one time to do a story and you were doing one with a family. I want to do that.
Yeah, they're really fantastic experiences. Most folks really flock to us for the red panda and the sloth experience.
Okay.
But to be honest, one of my favorites is the kangaroos and the wallabies.
Yeah.
The ring-tailed lemurs are fantastic, and this year with some of the new things that we're adding throughout the summertime, we're adding some new encounter programs as well. So things like red river hogs and some evening types of encounters that I think our guests are really going to enjoy.
What about the otters? I'm always fascinated by them when I come to the zoo. I love watching them just roam around, swim. They're so elegant.
So the otters, we ended up switching to red river hogs last year because we switched that whole area to
Really?
So we have cheetahs, red river hogs, Cape porcupines. This spring, we're building a new breeding facility for serval cats.
Okay.
And then we've got the Grevy zebra and the ostrich all in that area. And then we're finishing up a brand new lemur habitat as well. So it's going to be a huge African section within the zoo.
Oh, very cool, Joe. Very cool. Now, the cheetah. You can't have an encounter with a cheetah, can you?
You can. We actually do cheetah and snow leopard encounters at the zoo. We never go in with them. It's always a protected contact situation, but it's a great experience because our keeper team here has done a really nice job training the cheetahs and the snow leopards to participate in, blood draws and walking on scales and going back and forth, showing us their teeth, those types of things. So you get to go in and you get to learn about the cheetah and the snow leopard and actually help the keeper train them from the outside of the exhibit.
Oh, yeah, from the outside.
Cool experience.
From the outside, yeah. I guess you can't really, I guess you can't train a wild animal like that to be nice, can you?
Not to really trust them 100% and be able to go in with them. It wouldn't be safe.
Well, Joe, what else is new up there? Of course, I don't know anybody that, I couldn't go to the zoo during a pandemic, right? But what else? What other changes have you made? Take me through the zoo, if you would.
So some of the big changes that we made last year were we added the red river hog exhibit and the cheetah exhibit, but we also brought back red wolves. So we hadn't had red wolves here since 2007. We decided to get back involved with that breeding program because there's only 9 red wolves left in the wild.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty essential for zoos and the Fish and Wildlife Service to try to breed enough individuals to restore the populations in North Carolina. So we're participating in that, and then we received a grant from the Fish and Wildlife Service earlier this year where we're going to build 2 large additional red wolf exhibits. One of them is going to be a multi-generational pack exhibit. So the thoughts behind that are we'll have a pair that produces a litter of pups, and then that litter of pups will assist with raising a litter of pups the following year. That way they learn parenting skills before they go back to the wild.
Okay. All right. So now, Joe, you tell us, I mean, I know you're participating in the breeding program. Once that's successful, then you send them back to North Carolina. Is that what you told me?
Well, the Fish and Wildlife Service determines which individuals that are being raised in the zoos will go back to the wild. But optimally, we build that program back up to where there's around 150 to 200 animals back in the wild. In 2006, our team, we took a pup that was born here, and its mother wasn't taking care of it. So before its eyes were opened, we actually transported it down to the Outer Banks and met with the Fish and Wildlife Service and got it onto another mother that was down there that had a litter in the wild.
Okay.
And it was first time it was ever done. She ended up raising that pup to adulthood, and it ended up surviving and being down in the wild.
Really?
So it's a pretty cool conservation program that our little zoo participates in.
Hey, I got to tell you, Joe, as an adopted kid, I really appreciate that. I think that's really cool that, a non-biologic mother actually adopted because the other mother wasn't caring. I think that's pretty cool.
She did. We supplement fed her on the way down there with some milk replacer, and then we got down to the den, and they knew where her den was. And what we did was we pulled the other pups out and had them scent mark the pup that we took down. And she came back and took care of it, clear up to the point where it was large enough to where it was almost adult size. And they put a radio collar on her to track her through her adulthood.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Now, Joe, what else has changed? The pandemic, I, like you, very careful during the pandemic, just didn't want to deal with it, didn't want to, have that guilt of getting anybody else sick. So you tell me, the pandemic was a pretty lonely time, wasn't it?
It was for the animals, especially during the period of time that we were closed. You definitely started noticing that they were looking for people and trying to see if anybody was going to come to the zoo. Once we got into the period of time when we opened up and folks were able to come back, we opened at half capacity, but we have such a large footprint up here that you're able to be outside and socially distanced, and even at half capacity, we never approach that with the amount of guests that we typically get with the size that we have.
Right. And, it's, maybe people don't think about it, Joe, but, they enjoy that interaction with the humans. And when that doesn't happen, you guys were shuttered for almost 3 months, right, Joe?
Correct. Yeah, so they definitely missed the guests just coming to the zoo regularly, but they really missed the encounters that we do because they get used to those guests coming in and interacting with them every day. The keeper being in there for an hour or two every day, and training them and really having that up close and personal experience with them. It's really psychologically enriching for the animal.
Dr. Joe Greathouse, ladies and gentlemen, he's the director of Oglebay's Good Zoo. And Joe, you were closed, but that didn't mean layoffs, unemployment, or anything for you and your staff. You had to keep going just as if you were still open to the public, right?
Right. What's unique about zoos and aquariums is that when the business slows down, we still have to operate at kind of our peak performance. We still have to make sure that we're feeding the animals, taking care of them, giving them proper nutrition, having the veterinarians come in. So we spend the exact same amount of money when we are closed as what we do when we're open.
Right,
to
right.
ensure that the animals are being taken care of.
Sure, sure. Hey, getting back to the cheetah, what do they eat? Like, do they get breakfast, lunch, and dinner? You tell me. What's their feeding schedule?
It just depends on the day. Every day for sure, they're going to have something to eat in the morning and something in the evening. And then we typically incorporate some enrichment items through the middle of the day. So the particular cheetahs that we have right now, their favorite enrichment food item is tuna. So what we'll do is we take tuna and put it in water, and we freeze and make icicles out of it.
Okay.
And then they crunch on that and gnaw on that to get access to the tuna. For the main part of their diet, we give them it's a ground, specially prepared meat diet that has the right vitamins and minerals in it, but it's made out of horse meat.
Okay.
It's very, very lean for cheetahs, and that's what they prefer to eat. And occasionally we'll do things like a frozen rabbit or, frozen deer legs, things like that, just to stimulate those natural behaviors that you'd see in the wild.
I got you. And cheetahs, Joe, aren't they they're pretty fast cats, right?
Yeah, it's the fastest mammal on the planet. Now, the individuals that we have here, we have an old male right now. So, he's not quite as fast as what a typical young cheetah would be, but our role in the cheetah breeding program is we've decided we take care of geriatric animals. That way we open up space within the breeding centers, because to breed cheetahs, you typically have to have multiple males, multiple females, so she can choose who she's going to breed with.
Okay.
So if somebody gets too old to breed, we take them on and provide a lot of that end-of-life care for them. And what we see a lot of, as we talked about, the pandemic and the shutdown and expenses, animals are just like people. We spend a lot more money that last year of life or a few years of life on them because we have arthritis supplements and diseases that we run into in human care because we keep them alive so much longer than they would be in the wild. Right.
Now, you tell me, Joe, that your cheetahs, do they get to run? I mean, for instance, there was a vacant lot next to our house, and we have little Einstein, and we bought the vacant lot so he could have a yard. He could have his own little personal dog park, I guess. What about cheetahs? Is there enough space at the good zoo for them to really go on a good sprint?
There is. We actually, with the new exhibit last year, we built a much larger exhibit for them. And we did a couple of things. Typically, everything that we're doing now, we're incorporating these aspects of welfare into the habitat. And it's those things that, it's a big deal for us, but most of the time the guests don't really notice it. So we made the habitat much larger for them. And then the other thing that we did was we moved it to where the cheetahs are above the guest's eye line. Because a lot of studies have been done to show that cheetahs get nervous if you look down at them.
Okay.
So we wanted to make them more comfortable. We added a great big log to where they can climb on it, and we changed the terrain there. That way there was some variation in it to make it complex for them. But the other big thing that we did is they're directly across and above from our zebras and our ostrich. So studies have shown that cheetahs get much less stressed and they're more happy if they can potentially see animals that would be their prey in the wild. So they can sit in their habitat and watch the zebras and watch the ostrich. And every once in a while, if a squirrel happens to make its way into the exhibit, they definitely chase that.
Yeah. And squirrel, well, tough luck. Shouldn't have gone in there, right? Probably not getting out alive.
No.
Probably not. Now, as far as, the country music concert Joe. I mean, this is a big thing. Zoos across the country have struggled greatly because of the pandemic, and a number of country music artists, including our very own Brad Paisley, trying to do something to help. Why don't you explain that whole thing?
Yeah, it's a really exciting opportunity for all the zoos and aquariums, but they're accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. One of the board members from the St. Louis Zoo is involved with the music production industry, and he was able to reach out to several artists, including Old Dominion, Ashley McBride, Winona Judd, Riley Green, and then, of course, a big deal for us here in the Valley, Brad Paisley, to set up this concert. And what's unique about this concert is it's a virtual concert. You can go on to the Oglebay website and buy tickets for the concert for $30. And when you buy a ticket for the concert, $15 from the ticket price goes directly to the zoo to care for animals.
Okay.
So it's really generous of those country music stars to put this on for us in a really unique way for, definitely a local boy with Brad Paisley being able to help us out here at the Good Zoo.
Yeah. Yeah, Brad's a good man, and you got to love. I know that some people have been mad at Brad because, he's a Nashville fan when it comes to sports, but you always see him with his the flying WV hat, and he comes home more than anybody knows. It's really cool that Brad has not forgotten where he's from, and it shut him down too, this stupid pandemic. And so he did some virtual tours as well. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting thing for us. And, one of the things that I think is fantastic, they're tracking the ticket sales. And as of earlier this week, there are about 250 accredited zoos, and we're the fourth smallest community that has an accredited zoo in the United States. On the ticket sales, we send all the information out to our members, and it's been out there for our community. We're ranked number 16 out of 250 cities in sales for supporting the zoo. So I think that says a lot about our community and how much support we have and how good they are to us.
I agree. Joe, why don't you explain to everybody how we can all do that?
The best way to go about getting tickets for the concert is if you go to our website at www.oglebay.com. You scroll down on the front page, and there will be an All Together for Animals icon there, and it's going to have Brad Paisley playing the guitar on that. If you click on that, you're able to go on and order your tickets.
Okay, there you go. Very, very well done. Now, Easter weekend coming up. There's a big old treasure hunt at Good Zoo. Tell us.
Yeah, so we have our annual Easter treasure hunt coming up on April 2nd and 3rd. So kids will be able to come, and because of the pandemic, we are going to do things a little bit more safe as far as handing out the candy. Typically, we'll hand out the candy to everybody, but to reduce contact, kids will be able to pick up their candy and treats at the end with their Easter basket before they leave. But while they're here, they'll get to go through, and they're going to see the Easter Bunny. And then they're going to see a lot of Easter enrichment for the animals. So we're going to put out things like Jell-O Easter eggs for a lot of the animals. Kind of do like a little Easter egg hunt for our lemurs and our tamarins, and put all these different Easter decorations out for those individuals, so they'll get to see the animals participating in Easter as well. It also give you a little bit of a sneak preview of some of the big projects that we're getting started on to open up this summer. So you'll be able to see some of the construction in progress.
Right, and of course, you're allowed to be open. People are allowed to go in. We still do have a mask mandate, right, Joe? And we still have a social distancing mandate. And hopefully everybody that comes to the Good Zoo, hopefully they're adhering to those mandates.
Correct. Yeah, we have the mask mandate inside. When you get outside, if you can socially distance at least 6 feet, which, again, we're such a large facility that's really reasonable to do when you go around the zoo. And then what we do from a safety perspective, when you ride the train, We space everybody out every other seat just to make sure each family is separated by at least 6 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're on the train ride.
That's what you had to do for Boo at the Zoo as well, right?
It is. We did that for Boo at the Zoo, and we did the handing out the candy treats at the end. We're operating Easter the same way we did Boo at the Zoo. We appreciate all the community support, so there's not an extra charge for the treats. It's included in general admission, just like general admission would be any other day. We just do ask for members. They do buy a treat basket just because of it being a fundraiser.
Right. Dr. Joe Greathouse here on the show, ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Good Zoo. Speaking of Boo at the Zoo, Joe, how many times and how many people have come to you and said, man, Boo at the Zoo used to be really scary back in the day, man?
We hear that pretty regularly, and it did used to be much scarier in the past. We try to focus on a more family-friendly type of environment. And last year was one of our best Boo at the Zoos we've ever had. So that was really wonderful that the community came out and supported us. We operated a little bit differently last year, so we operated Boo at the Zoo throughout the entire day. So historically, when you came to Boo at the Zoo, you never saw the animals. Last year, you got to see all of the animals when you came through the event. And I think we'll probably do something pretty similar this year, where we may have a few night hours, but most of it's going to be during the daytime. That way you get that animal experience as well. And then we just charge general admission, and everybody got their treats, as opposed to having a separate event where you were charged to come in and participate, but you didn't see the animals.
Right. No, I get it. But, again, Joe, back in the day, some of us crazy teenagers decided, hey, these little kids want to scream. These little kids are going to have a reason to scream. And we had a blast. But, in this day and age, you probably can't do those kinds of things any longer.
Yeah, and we have to think about the welfare of the animals now, too. It's something we watch much more closely. So any loud noises and screaming, we used to run the chainsaw on the train and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
We don't quite do that anymore, just because of the concerns with the welfare of the animals and the loud noises.
Yeah, the deer didn't care back then. Just like every other Oglebay deer. Joe, I'm a golfer, right? And number 6 on Crispin, it's like, hey, guys, can you move? Can you move? I don't want to hit you with this golf ball. And what do? They just look at you and go, you're not going to hit us. You're not going to, And then you purposely try to pop it up so you don't hit them. Oglebay's deer are, they're not hunted, so they know that you're not going to hurt them, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, the population is overly abundant up here in the park, so they're really used to people. Folks show up and feed them, and we try to encourage not to feed them.
Right.
Just because a lot of the times the food that's fed to them is not the healthiest thing, and at some point, there's potential concern if the population gets too large. It makes it much easier for disease to spread through the wild population.
Sure, right. And I've not heard that before, but it's a distinct possibility, like you said. And they are. They're beautiful, but they're just kind of hanging out all the time, and they're not afraid of anybody or anything, it seems.
No,
not at all. Now, Joe, what do people who visit Good Zoo, what does it appear they enjoy the most right now?
I would say that the most popular exhibits are probably red panda. Snow leopard is incredibly popular with a lot of our guests. And then the red river hogs, people have really taken a liking to them just because they stay so active all the time within their exhibits.
Okay.
But I would say, probably, we try to give every guest that comes through a great experience. But the guests that participate in our encounters, some of the encounters that we do, you can't do them anywhere else in the country, anywhere else on the planet.
Right.
We have folks that fly in from Germany, come from Canada. I mean, they'll walk in and do a sloth encounter and break down in tears, or a red panda encounter and break down in tears, because they never thought they'd have that experience. And, you know, I think what's unique about us as an institution is we're a small facility and we're not tax supported, so we're never going to build a $30 million exhibit. But our team here is incredible, and I think our team is so guest oriented, and most of us are from here in Wheeling, so, you know, we love our community.
Yeah.
And they just give guests one of the best experiences that you will get at any zoo, aquarium, anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and, you know, the sloth, I mean, is it really that slow an animal, Joe?
They're slow the vast majority of the time. If the sloth is not happy, a sloth can be much faster than what you would anticipate.
Gotcha. So most of the time they're cool and just hanging out, but if you get them mad, better watch out.
If you get them mad, they are far more rapid moving than what you would ever anticipate. They're surprisingly fast.
I will remember that when I come up and see you, Joe. I will remember that. Joe, I just really want to thank you for your time this afternoon. You know, I had a great conversation with Lindsay, and I'm like, how's Dr. Joe doing? And, you know, she helped me get you scheduled and everything, and I appreciate that, man. I hope that a lot of people return to Good Zoo, and you guys have a terrific year.
I appreciate you having us on and letting us talk about the concert and Easter. And, yeah, I think, you know, it's a great opportunity to get outside and do things with your family. And we're geared up to really have a fantastic year with a lot of new things for our guests.
All right, brother. I will talk to you soon. Hopefully see you soon. I'll come up. We'll have some fun. Do a story or something for Lead, okay?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you very much.
You betcha, Joe. Dr. Joe Greathouse, ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Oglebay Good Zoo. We'll go ahead and take that bottom of the hour break. When we come back, Ashley Dunlap from the Wheeling Junior League, a terrific organization. They have a Wheeling Feeling 5K coming up. We'll get all the details. We'll also find out what other events the Wheeling Junior League, great group of ladies, have planned for the rest of 2021. All right, so Ashley Dunlap coming up next. I'm Steve Novotney. It is Steve Novotney Lives right here on Lead News. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Many thank yous to Dr. Joe Greathouse. Terrific guest. Cannot wait to go up there and see that cheetah. And wow. And, you know, again, ladies and gentlemen, like Joe just told us, if you make a sloth mad, they get quite quick. But if you just let them be chill, the sloth moves along very slowly. Ashley Dunlap from the Wheeling Junior League is my next guest. And it was funny. I'm like, Ashley, where are you? I don't have your phone number. And, you know, you're like, going about your Friday. And I'm like, if I don't have it by 1 o'clock, I'm going to have to reschedule you. But you know, Ashley, you explained it. Like you're the head wedding planner up at Wilson Lodge for Oglebay. And, you know, when you're in meetings, you're not answering anything or anyone because a bride might rip your head off.
Right, they are priority, and I love the planning process. So, but it is in depth. You're right. There is no breaking away from that.
No. See, you being a wedding planner up at Oglebay and me being the wedding planner for my daughter, that probably went very differently than what yours did. You know, like you know, if a bride to be says, "Well, Ashley, I really want a red carpet, and I want everybody to to have doves in their hands. And when we come out, those doves are released, and it's just beautiful. And, Ashley Dunlap's going to be like, okay, not a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can do that. And
No problem.
And I can hear me going, shut up, Mandy. You don't need doves. It's not about doves. It's about saying I do, getting married, you don't need doves.
True.
But Ashley, you're like, okay, would you like me to cue the deer too? Because we have plenty of them as well.
Correct. We could have a deer lined up against your ceremony aisle, and the endless possibilities of wedding planning.
Ashley, and I say the word craziest, but I'm not being critical. What is the craziest thing you've ever planned for a wedding? I mean, don't identify anybody, but what's the craziest thing?
Well, I did Orlando weddings for 10 years, so that's probably where I saw my most interesting. Just because I worked at so many different venues. I would have to say probably my most interesting was a bride and groom that got married on horses. She had to be coordinated down the aisle on her horse while his horse was waiting down at the opposite end of the aisle. And then they wanted them to walk out together. And it's so funny that you mentioned doves because she wanted doves released when they kissed at the end of their ceremony, and it spooked one of the horses, and sure enough, the groom went in one direction and the bride's horse went in the other direction. So they were literally going to opposite ends of the field. So that was probably my most interesting on the fly, what do I do and how do I solve this?
Right.
So that one was fun. That was a fun wedding. Though.
Okay, so did the horses go, when they went down the aisle, was it an interior? Was it inside?
It was all outdoors. So
okay.
It was in a huge field. Yeah, okay. It was in a huge field in a place called Sanford. And they were in this beautiful field, and it was a tented reception, so everything was outdoors. And so thank goodness they had a lot of space. We were probably on a 10-acre property. So,
okay.
We were lucky for that sense. They had lots of places to run to.
Well, one of the things that a horse does is what a horse does. You know what I'm getting at?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, there was definitely some of that.
Yeah.
So, yep, we had to have a cleaning crew right behind them and the entire time. So it was, like I said, one of the most interesting, and it was perfect for them. But you're right. It was exactly what you would expect a horse ceremony, like having horses with you at your ceremony.
Yeah, every time you see the tail go up, it's like, that's a horse.
You're like, uh-oh.
Bombs away. You better move, Grandma.
Right, step aside.
Grandma, duck. No, I can see that. I can see that. Ashley Dunlap is a member of the Wheeling Junior League, a terrific organization, ladies and gentlemen. And I love when the ladies contact me and how it usually happens, Ashley. And you tell me if this is how it happened last time. One of the multi-year members probably told somebody in charge of the promotion, hey, make sure you get a hold of Steve Novotney. He's got a show again, and he's been great to us for 20 years. Is that about right?
That is right. It was right. It actually was very easy. It's been wonderful emailing back and forth with you. It's been so easy.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the organization greatly. Just some of the things that y'all have done for the city have definitely improved this area and the quality of life. So please, hand it down to the next people, because I'll help. Let's just put it this way, Ashley. I will never say no.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That means a whole lot.
I will, when it comes to the Wheeling Junior League, I have never and will never say no. And,
well, thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank the other ladies for everything you guys do for this area. It's tremendous. And, one of the things that I do have to remind people, when I'm down at Heritage Port and I hear somebody say, wow, that's a really cool playground. And can I tell you about that playground? You know, and I tell them the whole story about how it came to be and who it's named after and why and everything else. And, you know, that's tremendous. I hate when I see anybody damage that playground. It makes me mad.
I know. Oh, I know, because it's so beautiful and well kept and taken care of. Definitely one of our most proud projects in the Wheeling area. And we've done a lot this year, especially with the COVID pandemic hitting our little area.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a little list that's like so amazing. I'm so proud of our group. We're 42 members active, and we have 150 members. It's our 81st year, so we're super excited, to have, been in Wheeling for 81 years. It's really exciting, especially to give back to our local community. So one really cool thing that we've been doing this year, we're delivering lunches and dinners to the frontline grocery store workers.
Very cool.
We did it in 2 stores, and we did it multiple times. So we did lunch and dinner, and that was early on in the summer or early on in the late spring, early summer. So we just really wanted to give back to the community because we know that the grocery store workers we're so essential and definitely needing that love and care too. So
that's right.
We definitely reached out to them and did something really fun with them. We're also participating in the youth service systems in Wheeling Sleep Out. We were a part of that. We've been doing the Longstanding Kids in the Kitchen program. We do it virtually, providing ingredients and the kitchen tools and recipes for Critton services. We've also been collecting Bath & Body Works products for the Marshall County's FRN's Teen Christmas program. We also collected new and gently used women's clothing for the YWCA's Why Not Repeat boutique. We were collecting canned goods for the Catholic charities. We've been collecting diapers and wipes for the Gabriel Project. Also, that we've been doing a lot this year, and we are so excited to partner with the Howard County Schools and Steenrod Elementary's backpack program. So basically, we provided weekend meals and snacks to students who are experiencing food insecurity. Also, the Frank O'Neill Family Foundation grant and was provided for the supplies, so to 20 Steenrod Elementary students and their families. So we were so excited to be a part of that. It's just so great to have made such an impact on our community, and that's why we do our fundraisers yearly so that we can continue to do these programs throughout the year to give back to our community, because that's really what we're about, is just, working the leaders. We want to improve our community. We want to develop the potential of women in volunteering, and just, making everyone else feel empowered as well in the community to do those same acts of, goodness out there in the community.
Ashley, take a breath.
Yeah, I talk a lot.
You rattled that stuff off brilliantly, and I'm like, really? That
when
too?
I'm passionate, I know, right? When I'm passionate about something, Steve, I go for it. I'm from Wheeling. I lived in Orlando for 10 years. And so when I came back to Wheeling, I jumped right into the junior league because I was like, what can I do to be in the Wheeling community and help others? So it's been a blessing.
How long have you been home, Ashley?
I have been home for 3 years. So 3 years actually, coming up in a month.
Well, welcome home. Well, I'm glad you came home.
I know.
Me too.
I'm very happy.
Ashley, I'm a firm believer. As somebody, I've moved to Annapolis and I've come home.
Nice.
I've moved to Pittsburgh and was there 10 years. Came home.
Wow.
And, you have a similar story. I'm a firm believer that anybody who grew up here in Wheeling, we've had a lot of people leave. The population decline, it started in the 1940s when industry started to fade, but man, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was the thing to do. It's kind of like, I graduated in the mid 80s, from Lindsley, and there was that conversation that as soon as you go to college and you don't ever come back here. If you come back, it's only to visit your parents and then you get the hell out of here again. There was that conversation. But I believe, I believe for whatever reason, and I can't nail it to just one reason, there's a draw. When you miss home, you miss living here. You miss the fact that, you know, we run to people who need help. Granted, you know, some people in the community can be big old backstabbers and tear 'em downers and everything. But the vast majority of the people here, and not just in Wheeling, I'll say the Upper Ohio Valley, if somebody needs help, we run to the fire. And, you know, you didn't experience that in Orlando. I didn't experience it in Pittsburgh or down in Maryland or any other place where I've been. And I think that's why.
Absolutely.
You know, when I first moved home, Ashley, you know, back in 04, you know, people ask me, well, you know, what'd you do? What'd you do wrong?
What did you do?
You know, why are you here?
Yeah.
You know,
Why are you here?
why, you know, what'd you do? You know, did you make a, you know, and I published a Pirates newspaper, a baseball newspaper. One guy's like, what player did you make mad? And I'm like, none of them. Well, why are you here? Why, you know, why in the hell would you ever come back here? It's my hometown. I love it. And I came home to be closer to my family because I miss my family. Yeah, whatever. You know, they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear the truth. But that was the truth.
It's true. You're so right. That's exactly what happened to me. Everyone's like, why are you here? Like, you know, you turn around, go back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's something about our community. You know, it is. It's like, no matter how long I was in Orlando, I was home at least 6 to 8 times a year. And I was like, this is funny. This is comical. I'm basically living in 2 places.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I completely understand. It's definitely like a underlying feeling of you don't know why, but it is exactly that. Like, it's home, and I feel like it's true. In Orlando, very transient. You don't get that kind of experience of aid or anything that you need. But here, it is definitely overwhelming. Like, we all jump to save each other, help each other, be there with each other, go through it with each other. And that's so strong and powerful.
Plus, I mean, let's face it, you know, where you've lived, other places I've lived, no town even close to those places have an Oglebay.
Oh, no. I know. We're so lucky.
Yeah.
We are so lucky.
Yeah. No kidding. Now, a run and walk is coming up, the Wheeling Feeling Run and Walk, Ashley. That's the primary reason you're on the program. Why don't you tell us about that upcoming event?
Yeah, we're so excited. So it is, usually we'll do an event every year called the Affair with Flair.
Yeah.
And we usually host it in February, March time. But with this year, we wanted to make it very friendly, outdoor option. We're giving a virtual and in-person. It's our Wheeling Feeling Run and Walk. It's going to be on Saturday, April 17th. It's going to start at the Levinson Shelter here at Oglebay Park. So we're excited to utilize our park here in Wheeling. And it's going to start and finish at Levinson. And we're giving you a virtual option, and the registration end date is March 31st for that. And then we're also giving you the in-person option, and you're going to get and it's not timed, so we're giving it a very leisurely, casual feel. It is going to be 3.1 miles, and then we're going to walk through Oglebay Park. It's going to be so fun. And then it starts at 10. It starts at 10 a.m. and it ends at 12.
What's the course? What's the course, Ash?
Yeah, so actually we're going to be doing a live map, and we're going to be putting it up on the website. So it's just going to be a live map on the website and also on our Facebook page as well, on Junior League's Facebook page. So we're going to be putting that up next Monday so that everybody can see what the course is.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sinuses.
No, you're fine.
Allergies.
I know. It's that time of year.
Really is. And go ahead.
Oh, so then after that, we're excited. We're going to do like a little after event. So everyone's welcome after the 5K. They're more than welcome to come back to Levinson Shelter. And we're going to do a little after event there with like some beer and wine. And we're going to have raffles. It's all outdoors, socially distanced. So we're going to just do a little after event there at the shelter after the conclusion of the race.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most possible, how much are you looking forward to never, ever, ever in your life, ever saying again, socially distance?
I am going to be so excited, especially in the event world. That's like been my
Right.
my verbiage. Socially distance, restrictions, guidelines. I'm sure everyone's on the same page. Like, we cannot wait for the day.
No, I don't want to hear the word dose, vaccination, social distance, face covering. I don't ever want to hear the word coronavirus or COVID. I just, oh my goodness, just go away. Man.
I know, right?
But it's coming. It's coming. All right, why don't you go through the details for the run and walk one more time?
Yeah, so it's a really simple sign up. We actually, if you just go on our Junior League Facebook page, there is a QR code there. There's also a link that you can click on. The website is just literally runsignup.com, Race, West Virginia, Wheeling, Feeling. So you can't just runsignup.com. And if you just go to runsignup.com and type in Wheeling, Feeling, it'll pop up and you're able to register right online. It gives you the links. You can either do the in-person option. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's April the 17th. It's going to start at Levinson Shelter at Oglebay Park. And then we're doing an after event from 12 to 2. And registration for in-person and the after event do not close until April 17th, so the day of. We're also going to be doing staggered registration time, so they'll start at 8. And you will be assigned to a group for registration so that we can socially distance everything and keep it, just very open and socially distanced for everyone to feel comfortable. So that's the general. It's not hard to find Levinson Shelter. It's just right down from Oglebay's Good Zoo, so you can't miss it. There'll be parking right on site. And then we'll also have volunteers there to help you park, or if you need any accessibility, we can help you get to the shelter.
Very cool. Ashley Dunlap with the Wheeling Junior League. Ashley, have you ever had a bride run out of the wedding without saying I do?
Actually, in my 12 years of doing weddings, I have never had that happen. Isn't that funny? I have never. So it's always so funny where they're like, "Runaway Bride," the movie.
Right.
I have never had it happen. There has been some times, probably earlier in my career, I can remember 2 where I definitely thought something was going to happen. And sure enough, nothing did happen. But yes, it has not happened as of yet. So, and I hope that it never does.
Yeah, right. Ashley, thank you so much. I do appreciate your time this afternoon. Good luck with everything. I'll continue promoting the Wheeling Feeling Run and Walk. And, we'll talk again soon, okay?
We will. Thank you so much.
All right, you bet, Ashley. I appreciate it. Ashley Dunlap, ladies and gentlemen, with the Wheeling Junior League. We'll take the bottom of the hour break. When we come back, Wheeling City Manager Bob Herron will be on the program from 4 to 4:30, and then Lou Vargo, the EMA Director and the Interim Administrator of the Ohio County Commission. Lou comes on at 4:30. We'll return in a moment. I'm Steve Novotney. It is Steve Novotney Lives right here on Lead News. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm Steve Novotney. It is Steve Novotney Lives here on Lead News. Let's go ahead and bring on the city manager of the city of Wheeling, Bob Herron. Hi, Bob. How are you, sir?
Good, Steve. Glad to be back.
Yeah, just like old times. We don't want to spend the whole half an hour reminiscing, but I do want to thank you. Ever since I came home in 2004, and I've done some shows and things, you've always said yes to coming on the program, informing the good people, the important stuff about the city. So I just wanted to let you know, Bob, this is a brand new thing, and I just appreciate you always supporting my efforts to help get the word out. So thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I enjoy it. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so how's Bob? How's your week been? Good week, bad week? You tell me.
It's been a good week, but every week as city manager is a good week.
Is that what you want everybody to believe, Bob?
Well, it's the truth.
Okay. All right. Family all good? Everybody's fine?
Yeah, everybody's doing fine. Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Bob Herron on the program. Bob, where are we now with this whole Bluefield State College thing? It's a memorandum of understanding. There's, a higher education level that has to even say yes before anything can move forward. But where's the city with this thing because of, the colleges coming out, those presidents and everything? You tell me, where are we?
Well, we have an active memorandum of understanding with Bluefield State College, and they are continuing to do their due diligence with the facility. And beyond that, I mean, what they end up doing or the other institutions do with the Higher Education Policy Council is not something the city's involved in, but we continue to provide them with information that they request, and they are continuing to do their due diligence to ultimately make a proposal, I would assume, to the city if that's in fact what they want to do.
I got you. And what space? Anybody that's familiar with the OVMC campus will be able to understand the spaces that perhaps Bluefield State wishes to use. So can you explain what spaces?
Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of interaction with Bluefield. I've met with them a couple times. My staff, or my assistant city manager, and Kurt Zendi, who runs the property, has had a lot more interaction, has shown them the property several times and answered lots of their questions. But right now, my understanding is that they're focusing on the E&A building, the Education Administration building.
Okay.
And the possibilities there, and now whether or not that would expand into residential residences for students or anything like that is yet to be determined. But I think for the engineering program that they're interested in bringing to Wheeling, most of it is, if not all, is focused on the E&A building.
Okay, and that building is a couple of floors. It's got a nice sized basement. It has that really, I guess you could call it, what would we call that, Bob? It's not a conference room because it's terraced. What kind of room can we call it?
We refer to it as the E&A auditorium.
Auditorium, okay.
Yeah, I mean it seats 200 people. And that's really proven to be a kind of a nice additional asset that we've acquired as a result of OVMC. We've had a number of city meetings in there. We've had some, or not meetings, but trainings. We've had the police departments use it for training. So it's been a nice little addition. It's in very good condition, but that's a pretty large part of the E&A building.
Yeah, and it's smack dab in the middle too. And when I first walked in there, I had forgotten about it. I walked in there, and Bob, I'll be honest with you, the first thing I thought about was, wow, a city council meeting could take place here.
Yeah, it would be a nice city council chambers. The stage is a little bit small for what we would need, but yeah, definitely a setup would be an excellent council chambers, because just the way the seats are close, they're pretty steep, and there is some ADA accessibility there at the bottom and at the top. So yeah, it would be, but that's just part of the building, and it is being utilized, quite frankly.
Sure, right. Now, Bob, there are some city offices in there, like Kurt Zendi, some Parks and Rec, some other folks are there, and that was done just to space some of the employees out, because up on that third floor, you guys are crunched into, a very small amount of space. But you and I, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, one of the reasons that we did that was exactly as you indicated. But also, when the building was shut down and we acquired it from MPT, they had a staff there, and a skeleton staff, and they also had a management company, and we didn't want that to continue. So we did keep the security for a while, but moving people into the building, particularly the E&A building and city staff. We also have a small crew that we retained from OVMC, a maintenance crew that's doing an excellent job. And then the fact that the rec department's in there, it puts people in the building, in that part of the building. And that's something, for insurance requirements and just, keeping track of what's going on there and being able to identify areas, the recreation department, and then of course Kurt Zende, who manages the campus on behalf of the city, also has his office up there as well. And then of course Northwood is still there, Helping Heroes is there, the Winter Free Shelter was there. Now we've got the Roxby group working on the 4th and 7th floor of the East Tower, and we've got a tenant in the South Tower, and of course Wheeling Hospital has their COVID vaccine clinic there. So we tried to do the best we could to keep the property alive from a people standpoint, and I think we've accomplished that. Obviously we'd like to have a whole lot more people there, but at least from a minimal standpoint to keep things going, I think we're being successful there.
Sure. Now, Bob, as far as other city offices, any conversations about moving more of Wheeling's offices to the OVMC campus?
Yes, actually, we have everything set up to move our water and sewer billing department into the E&A building on the first floor, and we've held off on doing that for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is that there is interest in that space.
Right.
From one of the entities that we have MOUs with. So we're going to let them kind of vet that out before we make that move. But it is ready to go, and there's lots of advantages to that. One is it's more space, it's more efficient, it's more secure. But from a customer perspective, it's right on the first floor. Literally, you can park right outside the door if you have an issue with your water bill or you want to have your water turned on. Walk right in and then do your business and walk right out and get your car and take off if you like. And then obviously it's also on the bus line. And then if we do that, then the goal then would be to move our building department downstairs where the water department is right now.
Right.
Which again, that's a customer service move as well, in that it provides additional space for our inspectors and our planning and zoning department, but also from a customer service perspective, that puts the building permit and the finance department on the same floor, which makes it easier for our citizens when they come in to, apply for a building permit or a zoning permit or anything like that. So that's the long-term game plan. But again, our goal is to turn every single foot of square footage over to the private sector.
Yep.
And there is some interest in that area, so we've held off on doing that.
I got you. Wheeling City Manager Bob Herron on the program. Bob, the MOUs, how many has the city signed, and who are those entities, if you would, please?
Well, I'm not going to go into all the entities, but we have 4 right now.
Okay, is there
four with one pending?
Okay, and
they're all non-binding.
Okay, and yeah, right. And you can't reveal because?
Well, some of them we have confidentiality agreements with from an economic development and property acquisition perspective.
Okay, all right. Now the OVMC campus, Bob, has it proven to be more popular than what you thought it would be when first acquired back in June? Whether it's because of the pandemic or not, you tell us. More popular than you thought, or what you expected?
It's pretty much what I expected. I mean, there are as I mentioned, 4 or 5 respectable entities that are kicking the tires there.
Yep.
And as time goes on, more and more of those, as they go through their due diligence, are going to determine what, from a second opinion perspective, because we have an idea on what improvements need to be made, but they're part of their due diligence is to determine what upgrades need to occur in the areas that they're interested in, whether it's West Tower or the E&A, East Tower, South Tower, and so they can make their own decisions. And as more information comes in, I think hopefully that interest will solidify.
Right. Now, as far as the winter and heating, how'd that all go on the campus? Any horrible surprises, or did everything work well?
Well, it's expensive. We heat the buildings. I mean, it is expensive. because the sprinklers, it is a sprinkled complex, so because it is, we keep the sprinklers on, and as a result, we have to heat vacant spaces, and we did that. And the gas bills were higher than previous years, and there were 2 months that were higher than the previous year as well, significantly higher. But if you look at the bill, we're taking steps to correct that in the future. But the gas bill is the most expensive in the wintertime. There's no doubt about that.
Well, we actually had.
Pretty much.
Go ahead, Bob. I stop when you start.
Oh, well, the electric stays pretty much the same. Water stays the same. That's all anticipated. And you got to remember too that these buildings are not shut down as vacant buildings. I mean, we're trying to, we are keeping the heat on. We're keeping the power on. We're keeping the elevators working. At very minimal levels, but nonetheless, just so the buildings don't deteriorate, and they have not deteriorated.
Right.
There has been some leaks and things of that nature, but we fixed them or corrected them, and we're doing things right as far as running the boilers and things of that nature. So we're trying to preserve this asset, this huge asset that we have, so that it doesn't deteriorate and become a dilapidated vacant complex, and that clearly is not happening right now.
800,000 square feet. That's a lot of square feet.
That is a lot of square feet, and I haven't been in all of it. I've been to the majority of it, but then occasionally when I go down there, I find a spot I've never been to before.
Right.
So it is massive, and the thing of it is if you go through the complex, they shut down in September of 2019.
Right.
They just shut down and walked out. But literally, of that 800,000 square feet, other than the nurses' residence, the majority of it had people in it when they shut down. It one way or another, the space was being used. There wasn't like wings that were shut off or anything like that. There were people in and out of just about every single floor of that complex
right
up until the time it closed.
Hey, when you were in there, any experiences with the paranormal, Bob?
No, not yet. But I haven't really looked for that, but maybe someday.
You go to the East Building and go up on 7, and people tell me that it's pretty haunted up there, Bob.
Really? I was on 7 about 2 weeks ago for probably a couple hours. I didn't feel anything breathing on my neck.
Well, maybe next time.
Okay. I'll pay closer attention.
There you go. Festival season is a go. The official schedule and everything. But Bob, I want you to reiterate something that you told me when I interviewed you for that story that published earlier this week. And I'll just implore the people, please adhere to whatever guidelines are in place, according to the governor, because if we don't, festival season could go away as easily as it came, right, Bob?
Yeah, yes, it could, and things are getting better on a daily basis in that regard. We talked a couple of weeks ago. We made the decision that we were going to move forward with the festival season. We've signed contracts, and with the hope that we wouldn't have another spike or things wouldn't go south on us. And here we are 2 or 3 weeks later and talking about the same thing, and things have gone in the right direction, and we're hopeful that it will continue that way, and that we can have it's going to be a little bit of a different feel, obviously, in light of everything that's going on, but we still think that we're going to be able to successfully have an event season on the waterfront in downtown Wheeling and Center Market, and hopefully get things back at West Banco Arena and Capitol Theater, this year, and then hopefully everything's back completely to normal next year. So
right.
I'm excited about it. We're doing everything we can, and I have every bit of confidence the citizens, when they attend these events, will be cognizant of the regulations at that time and hopefully will adhere to them, and I believe that they will.
Well, Bob, I think everybody who's ever gone to the Italian festival has, gone to that festival, whether they're trying to get to, the sausage sandwich or chicken on a stick. We've walked down the middle of that crowd, and there is absolutely no chance for social distancing at that point.
Yeah, that's one where there's tight quarters, and the same thing. I mean, there's tight quarters in that because of the vendors and on the street, and then of course the 4th of July gets a big crowd.
Right.
There's more of an opportunity to spread out there, but if the same crowd shows up, it pretty much takes the entire Heritage Court. So, I don't know how things are going to go once it's kind of determined that everybody that wants a vaccine has a vaccine. What that's going to look like, but hopefully the social distancing, like for kids, they've narrowed it from 6 to 3 feet. Eventually, the goal, I think, is to have that go away, but I don't know if it will in time for this summer. So people are just going to have to, watch out for what they're doing and, take responsibility, because it's their health as well as the other person's health, and hopefully that'll be successful.
Wheeling City Manager Bob Herron on the program. Bob, a lot of work taking place along Elm Street. It is, and remind me of the details. How much is that project costing?
That is a $2.3 million project, and it's got a bunch of components in it. It's not just a straight sewer project. There's a water line relocation in order to put a storm sewer in. There's a sewer separation component to it. There's a sanitary sewer component to it. And then, of course, as I mentioned, there's a storm sewer component. So it's all one contract. It's multifaceted, but it is geared towards, and it will begin the process of eventually having that entire neighborhood and that section of the city with separated sanitary and storm sewers, which is the goal.
Bob, was it concluded that the need for those separated sewers was the reason why the flooding has taken place, or is there another reason for that?
No, there's actually another reason for that too. We just about 2 or 3 weeks ago received a report from the Army Corps of Engineers back, I think it was the 2017 flooding or 18 flooding that occurred. We were able, in that neighborhood along Elm Run, we were able to get a grant from the Army Corps of Engineers for them to come in and study the flow of water that goes through that neighborhood during heavy rain events.
Right.
And, because Elm Run was overrunning, was flooding houses. And they have come up with a study with recommendations how to deal with Elm Run and keep water within the run so that it doesn't, get caught up and then overflow its banks and then go into people's basements, et cetera. So that's a major component of some of the problems there. And like I said, there are recommendations to widen culverts, to dredge, have retention ponds. So we just got that report about 3 weeks ago. We're still going through it, and then we'll be looking at various ways to fund that project as it's outlined by the Corps of Engineers.
I got you.
It's very good. I mean, it's good stuff, and they took their time and they did study it with our cooperation, and so it's a report that we're going to be able to use.
Okay, well that's good news, because there was a lot of speculation about why the flooding was taking place and everything, and I in one conversation with Councilman Jerry Sklavonakis, I was like, hey, you got to find out why that's happening. There's people getting blamed, and it's not fair if it's not their fault and everything. So I'm really happy to hear that the city is getting to the bottom of that, finding out the reasons and the solutions. Because, Bob, I grew up in that neighborhood, and I mean, I remember it flooding, but only when everything else flooded. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well,
the key there is there are solutions. And there's not one, but there's multiple solutions, and we're trying to figure out each one of them and figure out a way to get all of them done.
Right. Now, Bob, the streetscape, I ask you about it all the time, but this is the first time on the new show. You explained to me in an interview that, hey, the design and everything, 500 pages, everything's being reviewed, fine-tooth comb before it goes to Charleston. Because when it goes to Charleston, they're going to have an opportunity to comment on those 500 pages as well. And if there's something significant, it could actually push this project. Tell me where we are in that process.
Well, the review at the district level is ongoing, although it is almost complete. We just submitted some information that they had requested from us. And the goal here is to make sure that there's not a significant issue within those 500 pages when it goes to Charleston. so there a little bit extra time is being taken, probably about a month extra, in reviewing it here, and ultimately the goal is to make that month up by turning it around in Charleston with little or few comments.
Okay, now as far as those 500 pages before they are sent to the state, is there a time frame? Is there a start date included in there?
No, the start date will not be determined until the plans are approved by the DOH, and then they'll do what they call a letting, because as you and I have talked, this is a Department of Highways administered project.
Right.
So they will handle the bidding, awarding the contract, administering the contract. So that's once it gets approved, then it'll go through their normal process. And they have indicated they will expedite that process once everything is approved.
All right, terrific. Now,
DOJ or DOH, I mean, they're very familiar with the condition of Main and Market Street, particularly Main Street. It is horrific.
Yeah.
And they want to get this project going as bad as the rest of us do. So,
Bob, how long has it been since Main and Market have been paved?
I don't know. It's been done since my tenure, but I don't remember how long ago that was. It's been a while.
And this all came to the surface once the former administration said, "Oh, DOH, you're going to pave." Well, we need a little bit more than just paving. So it could have been paved like 6 years ago, but then the streetscape idea was developed. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. And that part of that was you're right. The state had funded a what's called a mill and fill project for Main and Market Street right about the same time that we were negotiating with the health plan to bring them into downtown Wheeling. And one of the concerns that the CEO at the time had was the condition of the sidewalks. And so as part of the package with the health plan is that the city agreed to deal with the streetscape part of Main and Market from 11th Street to 12th Street. And of course, you could see what's in front of the health plan. The city actually paid for that as part of our package, and that's what the streetscape is going to look like the rest of the way through, with some bump outs, new signals, etc. But so it morphed from a mill and fill into part of an economic development effort to attract the health plan. And then, of course, as we've talked about, it's gone into signalization, storm sewer, separations. We're doing a water line right now, so it's really grown to really a complete streets type project.
Very cool. Now, Bob, more than $29 million in recovery funds. Have those funds actually been received yet? I know not all of them, but has the first installment been paid to the city?
No, that will occur within 60 days of signing the bill. So my guess is it'll be in, probably at the tail end of that 60-day period. But more importantly, what we're waiting for is the rules and regulations to be determined by the U.S. Treasury Department. Because if you read the statute, there's not a lot of guidance. It indicates here's what this can be used for.
Right.
And as if anybody who's had any dealings with the federal government knows that there's always strings attached.
Oh, Bob, you faded out. I didn't hear that part.
I said anyone who's had any. Well, first of all, let me go back. The statute is very clear and it's very brief as to what the funds can be used for. But anybody who's dealt with the federal government knows that once a statute is passed, there's rules and regulations that go with it. And we're waiting for the U.S. Department of Treasury to issue those rules and regulations. I can say that on the CARES Act funding, which was passed back in 2019 or 2020, the first CARES Act, regulations came out within 20 days. So the feeling is that those regulations will be out at any time now. I know everybody's anxiously across the country is anxiously awaiting those rules so that we can then begin formulating a budget for that $29.5 million.
What do you really hope you're allowed to spend it on, Bob?
Well, we're already developing water and sewer projects. We had some discussions even prior to the American Rescue Plan with the CARES Act money about how we can provide some small business assistance, deal with, in the statute does indicate hospitality, entertainment, tourism. we had put together a draft program that we thought we might be able to sell to the CARES Act folks. So we're going to look at that and move that over to this fund. So there's all kinds of things that we're going to try to deal with these funds. Ultimately, City Council will make that decision, but we really can't have those discussions in any type of detail until we get these rules and regulations.
Right. Wheeling City Manager Bob Herron, ladies and gentlemen. Bob, thank you very much for the time this afternoon. Hope you enjoyed being back on the air with me, my friend.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Anytime, Steve. I'd be happy to do it again.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bob. Have a great weekend.
Okay, good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is the city manager of the city of Wheeling. We'll take the bottom of the hour. Lou Vargo, he's the director of the EMA, and he's also the interim administrator of the Ohio County Commission right now. Lou will be our final guest for the day. I'm Steve Novotney. It is Steve Novotney Lives right here on Lead News. Many thanks to Wheeling City Manager Bob Herron for joining us. First time since the new show started back in February. And the same can be true about a lifelong friend of mine, Mr. Lou Vargo, the director of the EMA and currently the interim administrator of the Ohio County Commission. Lou, welcome to the new show, my man.
Well, thanks, Steve. Good to be on with you.
How'd today go up to the clinic? Everything running smoothly?
Very, very smoothly. We're probably going to do 1,100 doses today.
Wow. Is that an all-time high, Lou?
Oh, yeah. We're that's what our goal's been, 1,000 doses a day. And we opened up a new scheduling system through the hospital, and that's our goal next week is Monday through Friday, at least 1,000 doses a day.
And that, obviously that hasn't been possible there for a while, Lou. It was only 250 per week, and you didn't find out. I believe you explained to me you didn't find out until Monday, and then it would come, and you would get 25 a day, so on and so forth. But now, a significant increase in vaccines is expected, and has been realized this week. Tell us about that.
Well, now when President Biden took over, he's going to give 100 million doses in the first 100 days. And Pfizer really came through. So we're getting, the state's getting a lot more. So we're getting, large shipments now. We've talked, that was our goal at Michael's with our partners at Wheeling Hospital and the Health Right in Wheeling to give, up to about 1,000 doses a day. And we always said if we could get the doses, we'll get them in people's arms. So in the past, just with several hundred doses, we would find out about it. The Everbridge system would give you if we were going to get 400 doses, we would get 400 names. And then we would, between, Wheeling Hospital and our health department, we start calling, making appointments. Well, we're not going to do 1,000 calls a day.
Right.
To make appointments. So what we've implemented through the hospital is if you go to the Wheeling Hospital webpage, /COVID vaccine, you can see appointments all next week. You just put your information there, you make your appointment, and you show up with your photo ID, and there's going to be a dose there waiting for you.
Now, of course, I was vaccinated, 2 weeks ago. I'm still good to come up on April 1 because I'm already on the schedule for 11 a.m. Is that correct?
Yep, you're on the schedule, and there should be vaccine for you then.
Terrific. Now, Lou, tell me, okay, those shipments come in. It's got to be kept very cold, and, then it's shipped up to the Highlands, and it's still kept very cold. When do the vaccines come out of the coldness to be put into the arms? Tell me about that process.
Well, first of all, it comes out of the thing, and Wheeling Hospital has the super cold refrigerator, so we can keep it.
Okay.
Plus Moderna, we have up to 30 days in the regular refrigerator.
Oh.
So once we get it up there, and like this morning, we'll start clinics at 8 o'clock, giving shots. Well, and the staff gets there, and we have people coming, so we always have people waiting because, again, once we get it out of the refrigerator around 7:30, it takes about 20 minutes or so to do that. So we have a little bit of lull there, but once we get started, then there's very seldom any waits because we're running anywhere between 7 and 10 lines a day.
Yeah, no, when I went up, ladies and gentlemen, very smooth. I showed my ID, got my little card, and then I sat down, I answered the questions, and then it was just a minute or two, and then my second mom, Becky Bauer, got to vaccinate me. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, Lou.
Oh, absolutely. It's always good, when you know people, and then so your listeners know who haven't had it, then just part of the protocol is once you get your shot, you're there just for a couple minutes. It's entered into the VAM system, which arm you got it in, things like that. And then we have an area where there's a doctor monitoring the area, and we have paramedics there, and we monitor for any type of reaction. Really haven't had any severe reactions. Some slight ones that we might watch a little bit longer, or some people have come up and said, boy, I've had problems in the past with getting vaccines or shots, so we'll move them into the first aid area. We have cots there. We'll actually lay the people down, give them the shot there, and they could just stay there on the cart until they feel better. We check them, with pulse oximetry and everything, their blood pressure. We might keep them there for a half hour or so, and if they're feeling good, then we let them go.
Right.
But everybody's monitored. But the majority of them, 15 minutes, a little sore arm, and you go home, and we tell them, you need to, you have any symptoms, let us know. But usually it's just minor stuff. And again, everybody thinks it's a reaction. As you and I talked before, it's not really a reaction. You're getting that shot, and you're training. That vaccine is training your virus to know what COVID is, and you start reacting. Then even with that second dose, your body now knows. Well, you get about 50% efficacy with it. You get that second dose in 21 days or 28 days from Moderna, and it says, oh, there's some COVID coming, and that just trains your RNA just a little bit stronger to recognize it. And you might have some muscle aches, fatigues, headaches, but again, not really a reaction to it. It's just that's how your body's responding to the vaccine.
Right. Well, as I told you, a little bit of a sore arm, and that evening after my number one, it was a little. I'm a roller. I roll back and forth not constantly, but you know what I mean. I sleep on my sides, and it was a little bit of a tough night because every time I'd roll on my right side because I'm left-handed, I would feel it. I would feel it, and then immediately just roll back over on my left side.
Well, yeah, but if you get a flu shot, you usually have a sore arm. If you get a tetanus shot, it's your doctor's.
Right.
I said I could give you a shot with half cc of normal saline. And, is it the vaccine or is it that metal needle that went into your muscle?
Exactly.
Sore arm. You're going to have a little bit of sore arm, but and again, some people react to it a little bit different. Some people, I didn't have any problem with it. Some people have, again, the headache, the fatigue, muscle aches, and things like that. Usually, the next day for a few hours, a little bit of Motrin or Tylenol, and about that afternoon they're feeling great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming up and getting number two. Lou Vargo on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Lou, according to the DHHR site, we're right around 47.7% in Ohio County, and that percentage reflects the percentage of people, residents in Ohio County, that have been vaccinated. And that number is going to go up after today as well. So we're approaching 50%. I see that as a big-time positive.
Oh, I think it's a great positive, and I think over the next couple of weeks, as you and I talked before, I don't, we're not going to get 100%. I don't think anybody's going to get 100% because there's some people who, are not going to, they're going to take their chances without the vaccine. Nobody's going to be forcing people to get the vaccine. So, we'll never hit 100%. I think we're going to get to high 80s. But again, that's a big accomplishment. We're into this pandemic a year. The vaccine's here. The governor's opening things up. Live music now. The kids are back in school. And again, I think it's very important that people realize, people who get their second shot today, we're still telling them, 2 weeks before you get that, highest efficacy. And again, we're going to still talk about all the public health. Wear your mask, social distancing, wash your hands a lot, because again, it's not 100%. It's going to be 94, 95%. Until we get up to the highest amount of vaccination and get people through this, we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. But like I said to you the other day, I think it's a long tunnel. We still have to be real cautious. We've been into this for a year already. Let's go a couple more weeks, a couple more months. Kick the heck out of this this virus and come back to some type of normalcy in the summer, and get the kids back in camps and at the park and the adults doing things.
Right. And Lou, will that time actually arrive? I mean, is there going to be a time when we are completely finished with COVID-19?
I'm not sure if it's ever going to be there. I think we consider that with any other type of, it's like the flu. There's different strains of it. We know that, there's several variants out there.
Yeah.
You probably saw in the news that there was a group home that we had, I think, 8 cases of the UK variant in Ohio County.
Right.
I think it's going to be there. But so far, the vaccines they're working against these variants. We're going to know more in the future with more research from the government and the drug companies. Are we going to need to go get a booster next year? Those are still the questions that are unanswered with this pandemic.
Right, and and you and I talk a lot, and I'm like, and I echo you. I'm like, hey, you got to keep wearing the mask, and oh no, once I'm double back, no, that's not the way this thing works. And I just, I think about it, Lou, and I see some people, living as as if it's over, and it makes me hope and pray that one day COVID-19 won't be on everybody's mind. Excuse me, everybody's mind.
Oh, yes. I can name a couple people you're talking to one that, don't want to be, you don't want to wake up every day saying, I got to go to the clinic, or,
yeah.
What's our numbers from yesterday? And, last week, Wheeling Hospital was down to 3 patients. Now there's I think 5 in the ICU, and
yeah.
I don't know, a dozen or so. I mean, it's we've saw peaks and valleys over the last year with surges and things like that. Things are much better at the hospital. Got to the point that I had to put a tent outside the ER because that tent's come down, but there's still a significant number of patients out there that like I said, they need intensive care, and they need the COVID, the special treatment that those patients require.
Yeah, and on Wednesday, I get the email from Mr. Howard Gamble, the administrator of the Wheeling, Ohio County Health Department, and it's 1. And then Mark Ackerman sends me one to from Marshall County, and they've recorded 1. And then last evening, I get the email from Mr. Howard Gamble, and 17. So I just hope people do realize that, hey, folks, yeah, some things are being relaxed. Yeah, weather's getting warmer. But always remember and never forget, the sun doesn't make COVID-19 die, and it's still out there. Whether it's COVID-19 or one of the variants, something is still out there. And I hate to have to emphasize that, but it's the truth.
Oh, it is. I mean, we heard from the government, when it gets, like last March or April, wait till summer and it's sunny and it's hot, the virus is going to go away. It didn't.
No.
Wait till we get into the winter, it's going to be, freezing cold and the virus is going to go away. And here we are next week, I believe it's going to be April, and things are much better. But like you said, one day we have one new case and next day we have 17.
Yeah.
It's just, where was that exposure that caused all, those 17 versus, the one. So, again, I think we're on the downhill slope of this, but let's keep going downhill. Let's just keep our vigilance up. Wear your mask, the social distancing, wash your hands. Let's just do it for a little bit longer. Then we'll kick it as compared to getting a surge from. I know I was watching on the news and they said the most concerned person in America was the mayor of Fort Lauderdale because it was spring break down there and things like that. And there's still a lot of things going on that, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. Just try to avoid those large crowds. And certainly when you're these kids are down there and it's hard to do, but just do as much as you can to protect yourself and get us through this.
Lou, I was speaking of watching the news. I was watching the news, I believe, last night, more of a news magazine. And, some of the pandemic experts are like, oh, yeah, we're going to have another pandemic. Do you believe that? And is it inevitable now? You tell me how you feel about that.
That we're going to have another pandemic?
Yeah, like in our lifetimes, before you and I say bye-bye and hello to the good Lord. People think we're going to have another pandemic, and not in 10 years, but soon.
Yeah, I don't know. You talked about, the previous ones, 1918, things like that. You look at all those pictures. We have polio, and all. You see the pictures of our lungs. I don't know. Is it in our lifetime? Is it going to be in a year or two from now? I don't know. Those of us have been in medical, I was talking to a person I worked at the hospital for, they just this morning, she said, when we were first doing it, did you ever think, we're looking around the clinic and, you see people waiting there, people getting shots and, things like that. Did you ever, and no,
no.
I go back to September 11th, 2001, then we had the anthrax after that.
Right.
And we started making all these plans. Ebola's been around, and all these other, terrible infectious diseases. You write these emergency plans, you prepare for it. Those are kind of ones you think, well, we might ever going to have to use that. But smallpox came around. In the past, they did that. Polio came; it's pretty well eradicated. But you and I talked about this before. We had plans on how to set up this clinic, and everybody said, boy, this clinic's working so well, smooth, there's no delay. You think, well, we planned for that back in 2001 and years after that, and we had the emergency plan. Did any of us think, are we wasting our time? No, we planned for everything. Obviously, the floods, the blizzards, the things like that, chemical spills, we obviously use those a lot because those are more kind of natural disasters than man-made. But we have plans for this. But there's one of those. If you had to say, well, let's prioritize it, pandemics, and that would have been at the bottom of the list. Obviously we have more floods and snowstorms and chemical spills than that. But so I don't know if we're going to see it in your and I's lifetime, but we might have one in 2 or 3 years from now. I guess it's easy to say, well, where did this one come from? And they'll say, well, you dummy, it came from China. Well, maybe, but then maybe the next one will come from somewhere else in the world.
Right. Lou,
Who knows?
If we have another pandemic in 2 or 3 years, I'm moving to the woods. I am building a cabin. I'm going to live off the land. I'll burn all my masks for heat. This has just been a horrible experience for everyone.
If we have another pandemic in the next couple of years, I'm retiring.
Yeah, right. Hey, Lou, number one, thank you for everything you've done for the people in Ohio County. Please extend the same to Mr. Howard Gamble and to all of those volunteers up there, and to everybody at Wheeling Hospital. Yeah, you're right. It's been a year, and it's been a really long year. But I think people should show so much appreciation to our public health officials here in Ohio County and down in Marshall County. You guys have really worked hard for an entire year, 6 day weeks, 12-hour days, 14-hour days. It's been incredible to watch the dedication. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and but it's the entire Panhandle. It's also Jefferson, Belmont counties. It's Washington County. It's all of us. And again, like I talked about the other day, is in emergency planning we look at the whole community. So yeah, this has been emergency management and the health department. Mr. Gamble and I have been nailed to the hip, for over a year. But Wheeling Hospital and Doug Harrison and Tony Martinelli and his whole crew stepped up. Kathy Brown from Health Rights, she's got people coming all the time. But I think even more importantly, when you go up there, you see the citizens, the volunteers are coming there, directing traffic, directing people to go there, helping them get their forms signed, helping them in, people who need wheelchairs in and out of cars, and all the restaurants, not only just at the Highlands throughout there, who every day is sending up lunch for those volunteers and things. Panhandle, who's given us cases and cases of water. When we talk about emergency planning in the whole community, I think this has been a pure example of how this valley, we've always known that, but it's and in disasters we see. But I've said before, when we have a flood, you flood, you take care of it, and then a couple weeks later, you got it all cleaned up and it goes away. We've been in this a year now. This, these clinics, 6 days a week for months and months, and you still see these nurses who may be retired, and they're coming up here every day on their own time, volunteering. They'll bring their husband and say, "Hey, you used to work, and you're retired now, but you worked at computer. Get up, you're coming with us. I'll give the shot, and you're going to run the computer for me," and things like that. So It's just a great community effort in Wheeling and the Ohio Valley and Ohio County, and in this entire region. My friend Dave Ivan, Rob Harrington over in Ohio, we've talked about that. This is going on everywhere, and this is how we're going to beat this pandemic. And again, we've always said, like, even with our testing, that river is no boundary.
Yep.
We've done a lot of testing for Belmont County citizens, Jefferson County. It's just one big team effort.
Well, the people of the Valley, Lou, you and I know this very, very well. The people in the Valley, we run to the fire.
Yep, they're the best around.
Yep. Lou, you have a great weekend, my friend. I'm sure you and I will talk next week. We talk a lot. But you have a great weekend. And again, extend our appreciation to everybody that, you're working with every day. It truly, truly is a big deal to us. And we do appreciate it.
I sure will, Steve. Thanks for talking. You, Michelle, have a great weekend also.
You bet. Lou Vargo, ladies and gentlemen. Again, he's the director of the EMA, the Emergency Management Agency here in Ohio County. He's also acting he's the interim administrator for the Ohio County Commission. Thank you to Dr. Joe Greathouse from Good Zoo, Ashley Dunlap from the Wheeling Junior League, City Manager Bob Herron, and of course, once again, Lou Vargo. That does it for us. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. If you did, get it shared, okay? Get it shared from this video on the lead Facebook page, or make sure you let everybody know we're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, we're on iTunes, iHeart, Listen Now, all kinds of those forums. But get it shared out there. Help the show, help Lead News, because goodness sakes, folks, we want to help you. All right, I am Steve Novotney. It is Steve Novotney Lives, and it's only right here on Lead News.